Okay, well, basically what Europe is going to have to do, if it wants to continue to use gas, it will have to continue to use a large amount of Russian gas because there are no other convincing alternatives, at least for the next 10 to 15 years. So if Europe wants to reduce this dramatically, it will have to actually have a new energy strategy, not a new gas strategy. And I don't think that's going to happen because I think the cost of it would be very great. What Europe can do is not to reduce the overall amount of Russian gas which is used, but to address the problem of highly dependent countries in the Baltic region and particularly also in southeastern Europe. But these countries use relatively small amounts of gas, and through mainly LNG, but also some pipeline gas from the southern corridor, these countries can reduce and in some cases eliminate their dependence on Russian gas over the next 5 to 10 years. But this will cost money, and it will have to be paid for by somebody, perhaps European taxpayers. But that is the main way in which Europe can alter its gas strategy, just focusing on those highly dependent countries to deal with the recent crisis. Well, we all have to hope that the conflict in Ukraine at least ceases to be an active military situation. If the military situation deteriorates, then this is a geopolitical crisis which we cannot avoid, and gas then becomes not a very important issue. So at the moment we have an agreement which will get us through the winter months, which is the critical area for gas because gas demand goes up very much in the winter. Hopefully that will last. If it does not last, then perhaps we can still manage to get through the winter months without a gas crisis. But what we're looking for is something which is much longer lasting. And in order to have a longer lasting agreement with Russia, which will avoid crisis, we need the Ukraine situation to be, if not agreed on both sides, at least demilitarized. In other words, we need the two sides to stop fighting, to stop killing each other, to stop displacing people from their homes, and then at least we can have a discussion on what the future holds. In this respect, I don't think that gas will be a very large part of this discussion, although there is a big question about whether Europe is going to allow South Stream to develop in southeastern Europe, because what Russia is gradually doing is to stop using Ukraine as a transit corridor for its exports to Europe. And as it stops using Ukraine, the issue of the gas relationship between Russia and Ukraine becomes important. The Ukrainian side would like to completely cease importing gas from Russia and to import gas from Europe. The problem with that plan is that most of the gas that Ukraine is importing from Europe is in fact coming from Russia. In other words, it turns around and goes back to Ukraine. If there is no gas any longer coming through Ukraine to Russia, then this becomes much more expensive for Ukraine. So that, if you like, is a longer term question. The short term question is to get through the winter without a gas crisis, and then hopefully to, if not resolve, then at least demilitarize the political crisis, and then to think about the longer term situation.